Hello. I want to welcome you to another, I'll call it an educational format about what it is that I do and all that good stuff. But I wanted to share a story this morning about we had quite the change in our house over the weekend. We picked up a new puppy. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of responsibility that goes with it. It's going to be a lot of time. So anyway, we've been thinking about this for the last number of years, and my wife decided that, okay, now is as good a time as any. We're not getting any younger. And so she went ahead and purchased this puppy, and we made the trip 5.5 hours northwest of here to pick up this puppy. So I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about how we had to expend some capital that we had stored, and it wasn't just capital, it's time, it's consideration, it's educating ourselves on how to raise a puppy again, because we did have a puppy years and years ago. So it was time, capital, patience, expenditure of others, investing, you had to get a crate and, dog bowls again and all that stuff. And we chose a breeder that has lots of experience. She breeds, 3 or 4 different types of puppies, all small. And she's been at it for 37 years this year. And so we wanted to go with something that was solid, had been around a while, and someone that had been around, had experience. And somebody that didn't take shortcuts, somebody that really considered all angles of, because she has to be able to deliver puppies that have good personalities, they're not aggressive or anything like that. And so it was a consideration which breeder to go with, and I'm sure there's lots of really great breeders out there, but we chose this woman and made the trip, made the investment. Now we have to be patient, we have to learn some more stuff and all of that. And I thought of it as, this is exactly what I talk to people about with infinite banking, if you want. Infinite banking concept, becoming your own banker, bank on yourself, whatever you want to call it. All of these originated from the same place. Prosperity economics movement. We all learn this material, and we learn from each other. Right? I've talked about collaboration and how I don't see this as a competitive business. There's so much need for help in this area that there's no competition. We collaborate. So the Nelson Nash Institute, and there's a whole bunch of different places that you can learn about this. Nelson originated the idea. Hats off to him for pursuing it and continuing to pursue it even in the face of a headwind, if you will. And so this experience of picking up the puppy, I thought of it as, I think of it when I speak to people about this whole life dividend participating insurance with a mutual insurance company. It's an investment in a capital, if you will. It's not really an investment. It's a place to store your cash. It's the best place to store your cash. I've said that many times. I'll say it again. It's the best place to store your cash while you're waiting for an opportunity to find you, or you find it, or if there's an emergency, you have access to capital very quickly. You don't have to sign a bunch of documents, show a bunch of documents. You know the drill when you go to a commercial bank. So all of that capital, so you have to have some capital stored somewhere. In this case, it would be in a whole life policy. They have to guarantee that the death benefit is going to be paid. So they invest that money that is given to them by hundreds of thousands of people. They're investing that money because they are on the hook. You have transferred risk from yourself to this organization. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about today. When we thought about the puppy and a breeder, we wanted to go with somebody that wasn't going to take shortcuts, somebody that was not going to dilute the breed, so to speak, to make it so that she became more profitable or any of that stuff. She toes the line. That's the same thing that the insurance companies do. I've spoken about, I'm going to change subject just a little bit. I've spoken a little bit about fractional reserve banking. I've asked people at the local banks if they've ever heard of this, if they know what that is. And most bankers don't even know what it is. But it's what they are doing. And that is that you walk in and you give a bank $1 or $10, let's say $10. They can loan out that money 9 times. Fractional reserve banking. So they only have to have a fraction of the money that they're lending. It's been going on for millennia. Think back, and this is a quick little story about how it all started. Was, you had these farmers, and they could be farmers that had sheep, they had camels, they had whatever. And somebody came up with the idea that gold and silver had value, that it was a thing that people could use to exchange. If you didn't need a camel, but you needed a sheep, maybe that same person didn't have it. So they came up with the idea, somebody came up with the idea that gold and silver is easier to transport than moving around all your animals. Gold and silver came into play as a money, as we think of as money at that time. And then it was too much for them to be lugging that around, because that's not that light either. So they would put it into a warehouse, and somebody owned that warehouse. They would put their money in there, they would get a receipt as to the deposit they had made. And that's what all the merchants were doing. They were putting it into a warehouse. And the person that owned the warehouse, or persons, maybe there were multiple warehouses because people had stuff. The people that owned the warehouses had a brilliant idea, or so they thought. And that was they realized that those merchants that were depositing their gold in their warehouse weren't all coming to get it at the same time. So when they showed up with a receipt, they'd give them so much, maybe not the whole thing, but then 10, 20, 30, 40 days would go by and nobody would show up. They decided that they could write up extra receipts and hand those out to other people as a form of exchange. And so that's where it's much like now. You give them $10, they can loan it out 10 times. Even though they don't have, they can loan out $10 10 times. They don't have $100. You only gave them 10. It's fractional reserve banking. You can read all about it on the internet. You can buy books about it. And if you'd like me to recommend some books, I can do that. Just contact me via email or however you'd like to do it. So that's how fractional reserve banking started long, long time ago. And it has evolved over the years to where now people are buying houses and we're still fractionalizing the dollars. If you think about it, it sounds maybe even doesn't sound. So this is how fractional reserve banking came to be what it is now. And it actually, maybe to you, sounds a little illegal, because if you did that yourself, you'd probably get thrown in jail, right? So anyway, when you put your money with an insurance company, you make deposits. Over time, that capital grows. First few years, you're putting in money, and it doesn't, you put in, I don't know, let's just say $100, but only $50. That's just as an example. It's not that it's only half, but as an example, there's only 100 in there in cash value, but the death benefit is there immediately. Much like the puppy, the investment and all of that, and time, and the puppy will grow. It'd be easier and easier. Well, these policies become more and more efficient the longer they are in force. And so the insurance companies cannot do what the commercial banks do, as in terms of fractional reserve. When you give them that money, they use it to invest. Now, they have administrative fees, they have salaries, they have office equipment, and all of that. So that comes out of it too. But at some point down the road, and for us, I think it's at the end of, somewhere between the year 3 and 4, when I put in $20,000, let's just tell you that's what we put in $20,000. Somewhere in the 3rd or 4th year, that $20,000 shows up in our cash value. So we have access to it. It's not like it disappears, But the first year we put in $20,000, it only showed up $14,000. The second year it only showed up $16,750, like that. But somewhere between the 3rd and 4th year, the $20,000 shows up. So there's an investment in time, but once you get past that, that money continues to grow. So we put in, next year, put in another $20,000, it shows up as $22,000. It starts to grow. And the insurance company is taking that money and investing in real assets because they are on the hook for that death benefit. And if you want to borrow the money, they have to have it there. Unlike the banks, if you go in and try to withdraw $50,000 out of a bank account, they might ask you to come back in a few days when they can actually have the cash there. So it's very different. I just wanted to make that point, that the idea of the puppy made me think about the insurance business, and that if people saw what was happening, because this fractional reserve banking is what's causing all these ups and downs in the market, ups and downs in our housing values, which, they're all attached. And so, wouldn't you want to be banking, so to speak, with someone that is actually doing real banking? Because that's really what it was meant to be. And with that, I'm going to end this and just say that I would much rather be dealing with somebody that has what they say they have, and they're not fractionalizing it, and they are diluting the dollars in our own pockets because of what they are doing. I wanted to withdraw from that system because I didn't want to contribute to that system, which causes a lot of problems. We won't get into it here. But anyway, thank you for listening. If this inspires you to call or email or whatever you'd like to do, no pressure, just a discovery call, get to know each other and all of that, please do reach out to me. Love to hear from you. If you liked the video, please click on like. If you'd like to leave a comment, please do. I'd love to hear from you. Alrighty. Thank you and have a blessed day.